Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We like to get into all sorts of health and wellness topics here, but today we're going to be talking about something that's pretty sensitive and honestly not talked about enough. So before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives just like this one. All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the risks associated with oral sex.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really think about it as being risky, but well, the truth is that it can actually be pretty dangerous if you don't take the proper precaution.
Right. And I think that's why this topic is so important to discuss because, like you said, there's so much misinformation out there and people just aren't aware of the risks. So let's start by talking about why oral sex can be risky in the first place.
Well, one of the biggest things is the oral microbiome.
Okay, the what now? What?
Microbiome. Basically, it's all the bacteria that live in our mouths. And it's usually not a problem. I mean, we need those bacteria to help us digest food and stuff.
Right.
But when we introduce new bacteria through something like oral sex, well, that can throw things out of whack.
So basically, our mouths are kind of like a petri dish for all sorts of bacteria, and some of those bacteria can be harmful.
Exactly. And that's where the risk comes in. The source material we're looking at today actually highlights 5 key risks associated with oral sex.
5. Wow. Okay, let's hear them.
The first one, and probably the one that most people have heard of, is HPV, or human papillomavirus.
Oh, right. HPV. Yeah, that's the one that can cause cervical cancer.
That's one of them, but it can also cause other types of cancer too, like oropharyngeal cancer. Or pharyngeal. That's cancer of the back of the throat, the tongue, and the tonsils. And actually, these days, HPV is actually a more common cause of those cancers than smoking.
No way. I had no idea. I mean, you always hear about HPV and cervical cancer, but I never really thought about it affecting other parts of the body like that.
And the scary thing is that HPV lesions in the mouth can be really hard to detect.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's important to get regular checkups.
Yeah.
All right, so HPV, that's one. What else?
Okay, so number 2 is oral candidiasis, which you might know better as thrush.
Oh, yeah, thrush, like those white patches you can get in your mouth.
Exactly. It's a fungal infection that's caused by an overgrowth of yeast, and it can actually spread from the mouth to the genitals during oral sex.
That doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it can be pretty uncomfortable. But the good news is that it's usually treatable with antifungal medications.
Okay, so that's 2 down. What's next?
All right, so number 3 is herpes.
Herpes. Okay, so I know there's like oral herpes and genital herpes. What's the difference?
So oral herpes is usually caused by HSV1, which is the virus that causes cold sores.
Right.
And genital herpes is usually caused by HSV2. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Both types of herpes can be transmitted to the other area through oral sex.
Oh, wait, so you're telling me that you can get genital herpes from a cold sore?
It is possible, yep.
Yeah. Huh. I never knew that.
Yeah.
So even if someone just has cold sores, they could still transmit a form of herpes to their partner's genitals.
Exactly. So it's really important to be aware of that and to talk to your partner about their sexual history.
This is why we need to have these conversations. Okay, so we've got HPV, oral candidiasis, and herpes. What's number 4?
Number 4 is syphilis.
Syphilis. Okay, I know that one's pretty serious.
It is, yeah. It's a bacterial infection, and it can have some pretty serious long-term health consequences if it's not treated.
And you can get it from oral sex.
Yep. One of the early signs is a painless ulcer called a chancre, and that can show up on the genitals, but also in the mouth or throat if you've had oral sex with someone who has syphilis.
So like the other stuff we talked about, it can be transmitted both ways.
Right, and it's really contagious.
Okay, so that's 4. What's the last one?
The last one is urethritis.
Urethritis. What's that one?
Well, itis usually means inflammation. So it's inflammation of the urethra, which is the tube that carries urine out of the body.
Okay.
And it's often caused by bacteria like chlamydia and gonorrhea. And again, those can be spread through oral sex.
Wow, so even if you don't see any sores or anything, there could still be bacteria there that can cause problems.
Exactly. So it's really important to protect yourself.
So what can people do to reduce their risk of getting any of these infections?
Well, first and foremost, talk to your partner.
Communication.
Right. It's all about open communication and mutual trust. You need to be able to talk about your sexual history and get tested together.
I think that's such a hard thing for people to do, though. It can be awkward and uncomfortable.
I know, but it's so important. Your health is worth it.
Totally. What else can people do?
Well, limiting the number of sexual partners you have can help reduce your risk.
Right. That makes sense statistically.
And of course, using barrier protection.
Condoms.
Condoms for penetrative sex and dental dams for oral sex.
So that's for any type of oral sex, right?
Anytime. It's like you wouldn't share a toothbrush with a stranger, so why take unnecessary risks with something as intimate as oral sex?
Whoa, That's a really good analogy. I'm definitely going to be using that one. So we've covered a lot of ground here today, and I think it's safe to say that this deep dive has been pretty eye-opening. I don't know about you, but I definitely learned a lot.
Me too. I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how many risks are associated with oral sex that people aren't aware of. It's really important to be informed and to take steps to protect yourself and your partner.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, right? The more you know, the better decisions you can make. So I want to leave our listeners with this. How might this new knowledge change the way you approach communication and safety in your own relationships? It's definitely something to think about. And speaking of thinking about things, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives just like this one. And let us know what you think in the comments.
We love to hear from you.
Until next time, stay healthy.